Welcome to this edition of Careers That Matter. Today I'm joined by Ken Peacock, who is the senior economist for the Business Council of British Columbia. Ken, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What does it mean to be the senior economist of the Business Council?
That's a good question. It's a weird. My kids' friends sometimes say, "What do you do?" Well, I'm an economist at the Business Council, and they have no clue what that means.
What, to be an economist, or what the Business Council?
A bit of both. Yeah. So the economy, at the Business Council, an economist looks at public policy, fiscal framework, taxes, BC situation vis-a-vis other jurisdictions, what's happening in the labor market. Spend a lot of time briefing companies, giving presentations, interacting with government, all these different things. And the economist, well, you got to go to school and get an economics degree and then maybe a second economics degree to try and wrestle the economics bit to the ground and understand it.
So when you talk to business, are you trying to give them information about what's happening economically so that they can make informed decisions?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So a lot of economic updates, but with economic updates, mixing in some, this policy, perhaps employment standards are changing, perhaps the minimum wage is going higher. And any mix of other policies. And we spend a fair bit of time engaging with and commenting and responding around provincial budget, government budgets, and the federal government budget to a lesser extent. Most of our work at the Business Council is focused on the provincial economy.
But you also talked about the fact that you work with government. Now, are you working with them to help them understand business's perspective, or are you advocating on behalf of government or business?
A bit of both. A bit of both. It's actually quite surprising because the Business Council is it serves this role of a convener role. So we can bring people together, senior people, government officials. So lots of times, something will come up. A government will issue a paper. They'll be looking for a response. It'll be a technical paper. They'll be looking for response and feedback. So the Business Council survey our members, discuss with our members, and then put a submission in as to where challenges are, what's working well, and then that's part of the policy formulation. But many times, actually, government will come to the Business Council and say, we have this issue, we're trying to find out what businesses think, and they will come to us and say, can you pull people together? So it's very much a two-way flow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's not like us and them with government.
No, it's not like we're always pounding on the door saying, you got to do this. No, it's not like that at all.
Huh. So what does an average day, or is that even possible, an average day look like for you?
That's one of the things I like about my job is there is really no average day. I spend lots of time looking at numbers, looking at spreadsheets, making presentations, and writing a lot of writing, but with a lot of meetings with officials and a lot of those larger meetings where we convene 20 or 30 people in a room to have a discussion about something, and a lot of kind of important high-ranking officials from other jurisdictions, senior leaders from elsewhere in Canada will come in and they'll give us a little presentation on, what's going on back east or what's going on over in the UK or something like that. So we see some of those officials. But it really, I guess at the end of the day, it's this information role. And at the Business Council, we've always, I've been there 22 years now, it's always been the case that our analysis and our examination of the data it's thorough and it's sort of unbiased. We just try and because you can't have a discussion if you're not actually presenting the facts in a clear and factual, accurate manner. So that's kind of one of our signatures is just this this base of facts, this fact base that we can all speak from.
Do you have a team?
I do. We have two other policy people.
Because I can't imagine that you can absorb all of the economic data that's coming to you on your own.
No. And absolutely. So we got somebody who looks after their files are more in the federal, the Canadian situation, what's going on federal, and we have another woman who is very, very deeply immersed in environment and energy files, because that's something that we spent a lot of time at the Business Council working on, is because many of our members, those members that are working on the land base and engaged in land based activities, a lot of environmental files, permits, and things. So she keeps very busy doing that. And then, of course, my long-term colleague, Jock Finlayson, he was part of the team, but he just recently retired from the Business Council. So it's just the three of us. We'll be looking to bring somebody else on board, probably not in the not too distant future.
Did you always want to be an economist?
That's a great. No, you know what? I had no, I did not. When I graduated high school, and even in the early days of university, no, I did not know that, or want to think that was something I would end up doing.
So how'd you get there?
Well, so I have been reflecting on this recently. Part of it was I really did have this curiosity and desire to understand how the world worked. And as I took more economics courses, it seemed to me, not everybody, but it seemed to me, this was my best shot at trying to understand how the world worked. So that led me to more economics courses. And then it's the classic story. I had an economics professor in fourth year up at SFU, and he just said, "Hey, are you going to go on and get your master's?" And I said, "I hadn't really thought about it." And he said, "You should." And he and I really got along. He was, everyone's got one or two of those teachers that kind of help them or change their thinking or career path. And he was very much one of them. So I went back and did my master's. I did it at the same school, did it at SFU. Probably should have done it at a different school. But anyway, that got me on the economics path. Literally, that one person.
Goes to show the influence that we have on one another.
It does, yeah.
You can actually point to one person and say, "You changed my life."
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting.
So you get your master's. Where'd you go from there?
I worked consulting, sort of a bit of a part-time consulting thing for a couple years with somebody who had a small consulting firm, and then went to Central One. They had an economics department, Central One Credit Union, the umbrella organization for all the credit unions, and worked for 3 or 4 years there. And then an opportunity came up at the Business Council. And it's been a great place to work, so I've stayed there more than 2 decades.
What do you think has been sort of the most important quality that you possess that has helped you continue to see your career grow?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's almost a curiosity. Yeah, because I've sort of carved out a little bit of a path by. When you look at data, economists use the phrase, the top line number. There's always lots more information. If you're trying to understand what's going on in the next layers down and coming at stuff from a slightly different perspective or different angles. So that's kind of been my thing. I spend too much time. Some of my colleagues would say I'm slow, but I feel the need to dive a little deeper to have a fuller understanding of anything I'm commenting or writing on. So it costs me time, but in terms of thoroughness and sure-footedness and trying to convey information, it's been helpful and useful.
Well, it dramatically increases your confidence in the messages that you're sharing.
It does. Yeah.
So around that topic of messages sharing, because of the position that you're in and have been over the past number of years, you're also a public presenter. Did you were you always gregarious and said, "Oh yeah, bring on public speaking engagements, no problem"?
Stu, when I was in high school, if someone said, "You are going to write and present in front of people for a living and a career," I would have laughed out loud and said, "You're absolutely wrong. There's no chance." There was nothing I was more terrified of than presenting in front of the class, either at school or university. I do not know how I ended up on this path, but it's just you do it and you get more comfortable with it. And on the writing, I'm a slow writer, and I have to rewrite and rework. But again, when you finally get something that communicates what you're trying to communicate, it can be rewarding. So,
Well, going back to what you were saying about taking your time, making sure that you've got it right, increases your confidence. I believe that that's a really important part in being an effective communicator, that you have some certainty that what you're saying is accurate.
Yes, it's very important. For me, some people have the ability to absorb and be confident about what they're saying quickly, but me, I got to kind of muck around. I got to muck around for a while before I have that confidence.
I think that as a consumer of people speaking a lot, those people who really know what they're talking about, they communicate with you on a different level. It's not just the veneer. It is the substance, and if you want them to go deeper, they can without having to do additional work in the presentation because they did that work in advance. And I think that this is fundamental to being a good presenter.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing a little bit of your life so that if somebody's looking at you going, I wonder how I become the next Ken Peacock, it gives them a bit of an idea. But, as you pointed out, the study of economics really helps to demonstrate to us how the world works.
It does. And just before we wrap, I will add in having good colleagues. And I was very fortunate. I worked a long time with Jock, and we collaborated on a lot. And so when you find someone that you can work with and collaborate with, and it's kind of seamless, that helps a lot in terms of quality of products, sure-footedness, some of the other things we were discussing. So,
great, thanks.
Thank you.